I will change at least one person's life before I leave this earth. My words not for everybody, but they are for someone. Let's go. What's up? Welcome back to the From the Bottom podcast. It's me, your host, Fitz. We got Ty as always, or you want Tyree or Ty?
You call
What
me
you
Ty.
want?
It's easier. It's easier for the
Ty.
people.
Ty like the neck. The neck thing. I'm trying to throw out jokes here, but you know what? This is why I got friend zone, because I ain't got the jokes like that. But
This guy.
you know. But yeah, we back. I guess we're here because this is the first podcast, but we here.
Well,
Many more to come. Go check out that intro video just to kind of get an idea of what the podcast is about, what the channel is about. Uh, we keep it real on here. We are really from the bottom. We're starting out trying to be positive, trying to really build up. We did the whole college thing. Both of us, black men, college graduates. I got my master's. He about to have his master's. All of that, and we want a different way. You know, like we feel like we was ripped off. We was fed this college dream, and we're here to challenge that like once you get to a certain point in life that you have to accept this path that's been handed to you. So we here to challenge that. But we like to keep it cool first few minutes of the show, so we gonna get into it. How you been? How's your week been?
man, it's been straight. Getting into this working from home, the pandemic and all that stuff. Just trying to stay positive and just make our way out of nowhere, man. For real.
All right, so with this pandemic going on, um, I know a lot of people are looking at it as, like so much negativity. We just had the election and everything. Joe Biden already talking about he gonna cancel student debt. Uh, I feel like there's about to be a new scandal, not the show scandal, but like a scandal or something big to kind of take our focus off of everything. How do you stay focused in this time of inundation with the media and everything that's going on? How does Ty stay focused?
Uh, I think you got to block out the media. Like when all the protests and stuff were going on, I was on social media probably every day,
Mm,
like just scrolling, seeing all the madness, and like at some point I had to step back because it started to become too toxic for my mental health. Just seeing all the destruction of the cities, all the morals and values that I hold near and dear to me, they weren't being expressed by other people. And just seeing people's true colors, it was just a moment to, kind of step back and just keep focused on what I'm doing.
mm.
That way I can fight the bigger fight after I get done.
All right, now I think you touched on something important, which is the bigger fight. A lot of people don't have that bigger fight. Like they willing to risk it all for that smaller fight for the here and now. And you know, I just feel like honestly we're at a point in life in general where there's just so many sides and people want you to pick a side and pick a side. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to be entrepreneurs, honestly, because we're fed, like the graduate from high school, go to college, ask somebody for a job, and if they give you a job, be on your best behavior. And it leaves out this whole other side of, like investing, entrepreneurship. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, people always told me rich people were evil. And like there is this lie out there that if you were rich, you had to do something bad to someone to get the money. And I feel like that was fed to us to keep our mind off the fact that we can do and have and be better and do it in an ethical way. And so as an adult, I've struggled with that. Like, how can I go out here and make money when so many people I know are still struggling? Does that make me a bad person? I don't know about you, but have you struggled with that? Or is that something that crosses your mind? Like, man, I'm in I'm in social work and I'm helping people, but they may not be going down the same path as me in terms of, trying to get this money.
I think once I got into my master's program, is when I started to see the differences, not only from the wages, but also the people. What I mean by that is like, you know, everybody when you get into college, they're like, great job, you doing your thing, like you feel like you made it because so many people are supporting you and showing you love. But in reality, you almost set yourself up for failure because when I got to graduation, went on to the workforce at the school, it was the hardest thing ever. I mean, I thought in my mind, okay, this is gonna give me some kind of type of credit. I'm gonna be able to build a foundation and then stand upon it and work. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it took me, I probably say, probably about 3 months to find something. And even when I found something, there was too many systems in place that were keeping everybody down. Because I was trying to move up. I mean, I was only there for probably about a month and a half, and I was trying to move up. Um, but there was just too many toxic people in these power positions. Um, I think now that I'm in this master's program, I've kind of gotten to see two sides of the coin. Yeah, it's cool to have a master's. It's cool to complete college. Say we did it. At the same time, it's like thinking about, okay, I'm getting a master's, and then I have to think about my salary. A lot of
Yes.
these jobs ain't gonna pay me the salary I deserve, that I'm worth. A lot of it's gonna be maybe realistically probably anywhere from 60,000 to maybe 80,
Well, let me
depending
ask you
on.
something. What do you think you're worth right now?
Boy, I'm worried about boy.
But that's a real question. We don't, but that's the thing though. We don't know how much we're actually worth. But like the college thing is like you're gonna be worth 60,000 a year, 50,000 a year. But if like how does a person actually determine how much they're worth without the college degree to be able to say, okay, yeah, I'm worth $50,000 a year. Let me go get this degree. How do we know?
I mean, it's I think it's different for every person. I mean, for me, you know, I I'm gonna say up in the millions at least. That's what I'm trying to get to. But I mean, realistically, for like maybe a job or something that I'm doing, we had a conversation earlier, and I said 200,000. I
Yep.
mean, that's enough to be able to not only survive but feel comfortable, invest, build my life the way I want to build it. And you know, this degree that I'm getting is fun. It's cool, but there's also so many barriers that come with that. And now I'm looking into other things, like real estate, doing stuff with animals. Just trying to jump into different avenues and just get to the bag for real.
No, I feel that. And I think that's one of the main things that is holding a lot of people back is that lack of even thinking about, like from a financial perspective, not really what I'm worth, but how much do I want to make? Like how much do I want to have? And that actually gets us into our topic today, which is habits. Like, and I'm gonna give my definition of a habit and let me know what you think. My understanding of a habit is something that is done over time that forms a certain behavior. So it's not just, like I went to the gym 2 times and now I'm a bodybuilder, but like I got the Instagram photo with the the flab or the fat and stuff like that, and then you see the progression like a year or two and you're still in it. Like though you could tell that that was based on habits. There are some things where I'm like, okay, that wasn't really based on habits. So what are you define as a habit?
I would say the same thing, man. For real. I think it's just something that you develop from day one, and it just becomes a thing. I mean, like when I think of habits, I think of like people who smoke cigarettes. They
Mm-hmm.
start, and then it turns into a habit after 30 days. They say if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. So, to put that in perspective for us, as far as like chasing more for our goals, writing down our goals for 30 days is going to become a habit. We're going to make more goals. We're going to be more motivated to do those things. So I totally agree with what you said.
Yeah, and I guess what are the things in your life? Because for me, I know when I form a habit, it doesn't even cross my mind that I'm forming a habit. Like the way things work with me is like I want something, I figure out what I need to do to get it, and then I just do those things and do those things and do those things. Like I remember when I first started college, I was in Las Vegas, Nevada, 702, respectfully. And I was working a janitor's job from 6 at night until 2:30 a.m. I would get up and then I would go to school at like 10 a.m. And some days I had to take the bus. My grandpa had to pick me up from work at 2:30 in the morning. Uh, and what ended up happening was it never crossed my mind like this is hard work. Like this is gonna defeat me. But when I would tell people about it, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you do all that? Like you get off at 2:30 and you're at school at 10 a.m." And it's like that's so hard. And I'm like, it's not hard for me because I know what I want. And at first I was falling asleep at work. I go find me a little desk and sleep at it. I was falling asleep in class. I wake up and people are getting up and leaving the classroom. So at first it's hard, but I'm there. I'm doing the thing and I'm working through it and fighting through it. But eventually I'm able to, function in that zone where you're just doing it and doing it. So how do you get in that zone where it's like you're onto something new and then you get going in it to where you're actually seeing results in the future?
I think writing out what you want to do, or kind of visualizing it. I think if you can see it, then you'll be more motivated to go and get it. For me personally, it's more of seeing it, what I got to do to get there, and how I'm gonna do it. So, for me, one of my new goals or better habits, I guess you could say, was during the pandemic, I'm at home a lot. I'm doing my schooling, and we have quarters and stuff. So, something I started to do was, if I'm gonna watch Netflix or have something playing in the background, I'm gonna be doing something productive. So if I'm gonna be doing a paper, I'm gonna have something on Netflix that's productive, like a documentary or a series that I want to watch, or on YouTube. Listen to different podcasts, interviews. Just trying to kill a bird with two stones.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And I know for me with the Netflix thing and all that, I wait until the end of the day usually to kind of do the Netflix thing. And that's kind of like my chilling. I'll play some Call of Duty or whatever, but I don't like to do it during the daytime because I know how addicting those things could be. And, your mind could just to take off in different places. And so, no, I definitely agree. Like you got to have a system in place so that when you do start running into these distractions, as I like to call them, like you're not, throwing away all the hard work for the things that don't actually matter. And I know Netflix be coming out with them documentaries like every week, like stuff you wasn't even thinking about. They make a documentary out of it. Now you're like, okay, I know everything about this. So them documentaries are addictive. Um, but another thing you said that was, interesting that I really want to touch on is goals. And I feel like habits have to be attached to goals or they don't mean anything. So what what do you say to people that say like I don't want to write my goals down, like that don't really work. Uh I'm just going to go out there and kind of just do it. Like what do you say to those people?
I mean, if they can do it, man, go for it. Everybody's different. I
Mhm.
think you have to try things, and if it don't work out, adjust and adapt. So, you might not think writing stuff down on a piece of paper is going to mean anything. Have you
Yeah.
tried it yet? No. So how do you know? You don't know. Some people can just visualize it and go get it. I think it's better when you have a structure of the goal, how you're going to get there, what you're going to do. Um, some people don't, they don't want to do that. They just want to get straight to it, but they want the results so fast to the point that they crash in the middle of it. Compared to somebody
Yeah.
who's written it down, they're thinking of every scenario. Okay, if it goes like this, what am I gonna do? If it goes this way, what am I gonna do? Um, Compared to them, it's just straight. I want it now. I want the results. The hard, they'll put in the hard work to a certain point, but once they hit that wall, that's it. Compared to the guy who's written everything down, he's got a game plan.
So so what is the difference between results and a goal then? Because to me they sound very similar. So if you want a certain result, that's a goal to me. So I don't see why a person wouldn't want to write that down, or like you were saying, visualize it. Because in my mind, if it's just in your head, you can always change that. Like you can always be like, no, that wasn't my goal. My goal was such and such. But if you write it down, it's like it's concrete now. Like there's no disputing it unless you went in and crossed it out and erased it. But at that point, you just in denial. Like if you like, no, I didn't write that down. Like you gonna lose anyways if you to that point. But um I feel like when it comes to habits and results, that the problem is not that people don't necessarily know what they want, they just don't know why they want it. And they don't know why they want it, and so they come up with all these reasons that don't actually mean anything to them. Like I talk to a lot of people, and I ask people, like, why do you want that? And one of the number one reasons is money. Like I want to do that because of the money. It's like, okay, well, is that really a motivator for you? Is that really a motivator, or is it what you can do with the money that's the motivator? Because let's focus on that. Like I heard someone say today, focus on the root, not the fruit. Like the root of the tree and not the fruit of the tree, because the roots are more important than what you actually see on the tree. And so that really got me thinking about the goal. What is the actual goal? And more importantly, what is the habit behind the goal? I feel like that's the root. I don't feel like the goal is the root. I feel like the habit behind the goal is the root, because if you're doing the habit, the actual action, the results are going to be the same whether you realize it or not. Right. And so, what are your thoughts on actually doing the things that create the habits? Because, and I guess a better way to phrase that question is, um, what do you do to form your habits? Like I know earlier we talked about, like when you're starting and you just got to do something just to get it going. But has there ever been a time where you ran into something where you thought, I can't do that?
That's a good question. I definitely wouldn't say that I don't think I can do certain things because I know I can. Obviously, there's certain things I'm not maybe not interested in, or maybe I don't have a lot of knowledge about. So
Mm-hmm.
it might be intimidating at first. For me, what I've always done is just let myself think about it, kind of marinate on it, see if it's something I really want to do. How can I do it? How am I gonna get there? What are the obstacles in the way? What are the barriers? Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just lack of motivation. Like you talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
visualizing it, you could change that sometimes. Like I done had a lot of ideas about little small businesses I want to open, but it's more of just a thought for the moment. Like I thought about it, but it never stuck. But now I have one that has stuck, and it has been over. It's been playing over my mind and over again. Um, so it's just about sitting down with yourself, reflecting, seeing if this is what you want to do, why you want to do it, how you want to do it, who you want to be involved. You and I had a conversation about owning some property.
Yep.
That's something that we both interested in. Obviously that's to make money. We enjoy doing it. And we want to be wealthy. So,
Nah,
I
nah, we don't want to be. We are going to be.
we're gonna be wealthy. Um, People, man, they just got to sit down and reflect. I posted a thing yesterday that said about these jobs that they distract you with a
Mhm.
with a salary so they can cut off your dreams.
Yep, I saw
And
that.
it had a guy, and it had the person with the wings, and it was cutting off the wings.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a gut punch, man, because it's like
Yep.
they tell us to go to school. School's not a bad thing, but
No.
I could have been a millionaire by now doing real estate. I
Mm-hmm.
could have learned a trade. I could have opened up my own business. I don't have to go to school for those things, and they made it seem like if you don't go here, you're not gonna be nothing. And now at this point, it's like, man, I wouldn't say I wasted time, but I could have done more with my time being in school, and maybe that falls on me. I think it's accountability and responsibility in that too, because I could have been more interested in my, my career. But when you going through college, you living your life. You're not really worried about what's to come after. You think that
Mhm.
this degree is gonna hold you over for a little while, like until you get to graduation, you start searching for jobs. Bam, you
Yep.
get punched in the face. So I think it's people just gotta sit down and reflect. And you had said something earlier that people say, "Oh, I didn't write that down." It's more of an accountability. Once you write it down, you might misplace it, but then you find it
Mhm.
again. You're like, "Oh, I wrote that down a while back. Why didn't I do that?" And then it's a regret.
Yeah, no, and something that you had said was like with the college thing and you finish and then you go and apply for the jobs and it's like a punch in the face. That made me think of like this metaphor where, like boxers, they're boxing the whole match and they got all this adrenaline and the people watching can see, the bruises and the cuts and all that. But I never see a mirror like in the boxing ring. Like they don't show them a picture of their face like, look, man, you're all cut up and stuff. And it's not until after they get out the fight and they go look in the mirror and stuff like that that they see they all beat up. And I feel like that's how college was in sort of a sense, is like you fighting the whole time, like you coming up with ways to pass this class and do this research and all this other stuff. And then after you get the degree, you look in the mirror and it's like, man, I didn't know I had two black eyes. And so now I feel like with the two black eyes, how do I go out here and look normal so everybody don't keep looking at me all sideways and stuff? And I think the practical part of what I want people to get out of this podcast, this episode, is that, you know, it's never easy. I want people to really understand that it's never easy. And once you realize that when you go on Instagram and you go on these other social media platforms and you see people that are already successful, you have to understand that you're only seeing part of that. You're not seeing the other half. And and so this podcast really focuses on building up. And so we're going to make it a habit of doing this podcast every single week. And so that's how we're practically, putting this into place. It's like we want to be wealthy. We're not wealthy right now. This is one of the things that are going to help us get that wealth, is by creating a habit of doing this podcast every week, coming on, talking to you guys, giving you practical advice, practical ways to kind of go about doing things. And so I never want people to walk away from the podcast like, oh, they was just talking. And so if you could give one practical piece of advice to someone on how to actually form a habit, like not just necessarily but what you do, but like someone's watching this and boom, after they turn the podcast off, they can go right now and start the process of building a habit, a healthy habit.
Uh, I'm gonna use myself for example. Like for me, I wrote down, I wanted to play in NFL, wanted to be, that type of guy, have all the fame, the fortune, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I think that you have to write something down that's, that you can dream about, obviously, but also something that's, I wouldn't say it's too far fetched, but realistic. Like you can achieve it. Obviously, with the NFL, it's 2% that make it. Even if you go to a big D1 school and you ball out, 2% make it. Um, for me, I had to sit down with myself and step away from football and figure it out. Okay, what else can I do? Like I know football is the only thing I can do. Can I do this? Can I do this? I got into MMA recently with my training. I just started doing boxing. I started doing MMA, wrestling. I used to be a wrestler as well. But I started making these goals of learning from YouTube,
Look
different
at him
videos,
stunting.
how to do these things. This guy, you know, all these things. Um, and then I just kept going with it. And then after a while, it became like second nature. Like now, I got people coming up to me in the gym, asking if I train for real, all these things. And for me, it's just about working hard. You got to be obsessed, but make sure it's just realistic, man, for real.
No, I feel that. And I think one of the examples that I like to point out to people is when I quit smoking cigarettes. Unless you're my life insurance company, I never smoke cigarettes. But for
Yes,
if I hypothetically if I did,
yes,
when I hypothetically quit, there was a moment where I was just buying them, and I would buy a whole pack, smoke one, and then throw it out the window. Like get rid of them, throw a whole pack away or whatever. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, either I'm serious about quitting or I'm not. And so what I did was I was like, okay, what is smoking actually? Like what does that actually mean? And so it was like, if I don't actually put a cigarette in my mouth and light it, then I can't smoke no matter what. So I focused on one thing, which was not putting a cigarette in my mouth. And that one thing had a way bigger, result, if you will. Like that one action made it to where I didn't smoke cigarettes. It wasn't like, oh, well, what about buying them and what about how I feel? It's like, no, if I just focus on this one thing, which is not putting a cigarette in my mouth, then there's no way that I can fail at this. And it worked. And so one of the things that I want people to understand is that with habits, you need to understand, one, what is your goal? Because without that goal, it's going to be very difficult for you to form the habit necessary. You don't just form a habit, you want to form the right habit to get what you want. So if you're trying to go to if you're trying to go to college, you don't want to make it a habit of filling out applications for a job if you're trying to fill out applications for a college. Or, like you need to do the right things in order to get to the goal that you want. So you need to figure out what you need to do first and foremost. Then you need to figure out why you're doing it. So like with the college thing, now when I'm looking at the college thing, it's like all that information was already available. Like I could have easily looked up how much I was going to make after college, but it's more in my face now because it has to be. Cause but if you can see far enough in the future to see what is actually going to be in your face when you get what you want, then you can plan, earlier and make better decisions so that you can start better habits. And so one of the habits that I could have started when I first started college was working longer hours so that I didn't have to take out as much money for student loans. But I got in the habit of just borrowing the money because I was never disciplined with money. It was like a loan, what? Okay, I'm gonna pay it back. Yeah, it's whatever. I'm gonna pay it back. It don't matter. And so I got in the habit of just taking out the money and just using it, which I needed it for stuff. But if I knew what I knew now, it would be like, okay, no, I'm gonna work, 3 more hours at Noodles and Company, and make me a little extra money. I don't need that car that bad. All this other stuff. But I think something interesting that you said was like people are walking up to you and they're asking you if you train and stuff like that. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing in their life is they quit because they don't get that approval from other people, or people aren't walking up to them saying, "Oh, you're trying to be wealthy? Oh, I see you. I see you with your 1992 Corolla and you're grinding and nobody knows it, but I see you." Like people need that approval so much that they quit, because oftentimes when you're trying to do what we're trying to do, which, or not trying, but doing what we're doing, you're not seeing the results immediately. Like there's not going to be a million people viewing this first episode, but if we never get on again, then we'll never know if there would be a million people in the future that come back and watch it. And so what do you think about the fact that oftentimes the results are hidden until it's the right time? Like I just feel like with the degree thing, it's like, okay, I know I'm gonna get it in 4 years if I do X, Y, and Z. But with this success thing and the entrepreneurship and the wealth, it could be 10 years, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, 3 years, you never know. How do you put that in your mind to keep going when there is no clear, time frame of when things are gonna pop off?
you gotta be dedicated. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that people lack when they start a new goal or a new habit is that they're committed at first, and it's kind of like the honeymoon phase is what I call it. You're excited, you're pumped up, you're ready to go, but after a while, it's like that energy is depleted. So like, people going to the gym, New Year,
Mm-hmm.
New Year, new me. People go
Yep.
to the gym for what, baby? 2 weeks, and then they back to the
Hashtag.
same routine.
Yes.
So people got to remember that it's a marathon, man. Like, it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be dirty. You're gonna have your good moments, your bad moments, your ugly moments, and it's just up to you to digest those experiences and turn them into what you need them to be, rather than just giving up when it gets hard. There's a lot of people that run marathons.
Mm-hmm.
Marathons are long as hell. So at some point in that race, they have to tell their body to suck it up. At that point, it's mind over matter. So it's the same thing with your goals and your habits. You have to develop a mindset of commitment, discipline, and not giving up. That's the only difference between us and other people. Anybody can get a degree. We just didn't give up. Even when it got hard, we just didn't give up. We just kept pushing
Mm-hmm.
because we knew it was going to be worth it. That's the same thing with being an entrepreneur, opening your own business. You have to stay committed to the grind. It may take 1 year, you might blow up. It may take 10 years. Your boy Toby,
Yeah.
he talked about he dropped a video freestyle every Sunday for 10 years, he said. 10 years in an interview. And at that very moment he was about to give up, everything just started popping off for him.
Yeah, I,
So
I know what video you're talking about. And
yeah.
as you study this more, you see that common thing where it's like people just do it. They're just doing the actions, and then all of a sudden it just it goes. It goes. And I think that one thing that you were talking about with the commitment is true. And what I try to stress to people is like you're not always going to know what you want until you actually start doing the thing. Like when we go back and look at this podcast, there's going to be things like, oh, we should have done this and done that, but we have the podcast and we can always make adjustments. But there's never going to be an adjustment if you never start. And people will focus more on the change and resisting the change and actually looking at what they're already doing that's similar to what they want to be doing. So for example, it's like if I tell somebody, hey, you should start getting into a routine of doing X, Y, and Z, and this will improve your life drastically. They'll be like, man, I ain't about to do that. I don't really do routines. But it's like, do you realize that you already do routines? That's why, like, everything you do right now is because of a routine. You're just not conscious of it. I'm telling you to be conscious of your routine and not just, wake up and do it. Like you don't even notice that you're doing a routine, but people think it's so much hard work to do a routine, but they don't realize like everything you do is pretty much a routine. And so one thing that I like to stress to people is that you don't have to do it all at once. And that's actually the main point that I want people to get away from this podcast is that figure out what one thing you can do every single day where it's like I can definitely do that and relate it to your goal, and I guarantee you your life will change. If you want something, figure out one thing that you can do every single day that's so easy that you could do it, and just do that and start doing that, and your life will change drastically. Because if you do something consistently over time, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a change. You just have to do it long enough. And what people don't realize is like at the end of the day, the people that are successful right now, if they stop doing all the things that got them successful, they would no longer be successful. Like they would get taken over by the people that are doing the things and grinding hard now. And so what I like, if you're watching this podcast right now, like write one thing down, like write down your goal. What do you want? And what is one thing that I can do for sure every single day, and commit to it. That's the other part. Commit to it. Don't just write it down, but commit to it. If you got to call someone and tell them and be like, yo, I'm going to be committed to this. And if I hit you up with the text or call, make sure, I'm being accountable to myself. Hit me up, ask if I'm doing it, keep me accountable, commit to it. Second, and I think Ty can speak to this. If you are serious about being an entrepreneur, being successful, you have to do your own research. Like, stop taking everyone else's word for it and do your own research, and stop getting in conversations that you ain't got no business being in because you ain't did your research, and just talking just to talk. Like, oh yeah, I know about that. I know about this. I know about that. Like, stop. You're not doing anything. You're just talking. And people that are actually on their way to success can tell the difference. And I think that gets me kind of into how I wanted to close things off is, what do you think? And I know you got some thoughts on this. What do you think about, like, the whole idea of, okay, I don't really know much about money, but I'm willing to learn. But how do I go out there and get this information without getting ripped off by someone who's going to take advantage of me? Because I feel like, especially in our community, we're so scared to go and get new information because we think everything is a scam. So it's like, I'm not going to pay for this service. I'm not going to pay for someone to do my taxes. I'm not going to pay for advice because they're trying to scam me. How do we get information without, totally turning away from things that can actually help us?
Like you said earlier, research.
Mhm.
Obviously, make sure what you're looking at is credible. Make sure the people that you're watching are credible. Um, don't get too caught up in what they have done because their situation is different than yours.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, like for me, financial literacy was one of the things I wanted to learn. So I'm watching, I was watching Dave Ramsey today. I was watching a little bit of his podcast. He has different people on there, but they talk about a lot of different stuff. But I know for one thing that he is credible. He's not gonna. He might be trying to sell something. Hey, get into the school. We'll teach you how to do this and this and this. Some people need that. I just need the little gems because then I can put the gems where they need to be to line up to get the bigger prize.
Yeah.
So making sure you're credible, man. And you gotta put the time in. Once you research something, you gotta be obsessed with it.
Hmm.
You want to learn about financial literacy? YouTube. YouTube has literally everything on there. I mean, you can think of the randomest thing and it's going to be on there. Read books. If you don't trust nobody on social media, Facebook, whatever, read books. Look up books. You don't like reading books? Do an audio book. I like audiobooks because I can go to the gym and listen to the book at the same time. Do podcasts, interviews. Like there's some gems in there. Some of them might be 2 or 3 hours, like Joe Rogan. A lot of his stuff is 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I like his stuff. It's informational, it's interesting to hit a different perspectives, different opinions. Um, but you just gotta make time for it. People say they don't have time, but they do. One thing that I've done probably, I don't know, probably this past year, I would say, is military. So a lot of military
Hmm.
guys, when you get into the military, you're taught how to utilize your time every second. You're from making your bed all the way to getting dressed. You can make your bed and be dressed within 10 minutes. So for me, it's about utilizing every second that I have. So if I'm going to the gym, I got an audio book on. Or if I'm at home and I'm working on what I want to do, I got a podcast or interview going on. Like instead of watching Netflix for, you know, hours upon hours, 5 seasons in a row, hit a
What
couple
show?
Oh, let's see which one and I'm guilty of this too. Which one did I just finish? Um, there's one. It's only 2 seasons. It's on Hulu. It's For Life. It's about a black man who gets wrongfully imprisoned. He becomes a lawyer
Mhm.
and kind of just destroys the whole system that put him in there. But
Mm.
that was a good watch though. That was interesting. But in that time I was watching it, I was doing other things, doing my schoolwork, working on my goals, writing down what I want to do, how I want to do it, um, applying for what I need to apply for. It's just about holding yourself accountable and being, like I said, being dedicated, man. That's the biggest thing. Like for me, I've always been around sports. That's kind of paved the way for me. But as I transitioned out of sports, it was kind of like, okay, what do I want to do now? Do I have the motivation to do something else? What's my purpose? Who am I? Like my identity was football. And then once I stepped away from that, it was like, okay, how do I mold myself into something better? And I will say, I would choose the man I am now over who I was when I was playing football.
Mm,
100%.
that's real. And I think, I think that's a great kind of way to end everything, with like that that even though you haven't made all the decisions, that you feel like what now, it's not even like a wish I could go back, but like a I'm better than I was before. And when you're in a place in life where it's like, okay, I could have done things different in the past, but I'm still better than I was, you're not starting over from zero. You're starting with that lesson, that you've learned. And so now it's like, with this wealth and everything that's going on, is like, you got a bachelor's, about to have the master's, I have the master's and the bachelor's. We're not starting from zero. There are a lot of people that are starting from zero, and they're looking at this podcast and other podcasts like, oh well, y'all are starting here, y'all are starting there. But what I want to emphasize is that when you're forming good habits, it doesn't matter where you're starting from. This is real stuff. It doesn't matter what level you're starting at. You could be starting from ground zero. If you have a goal and you figure out the right habits to do in order to get where you want, you're going to get there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. We live in America. If you're watching in America, we live in America, like the capitalist center of the universe. There's a way, like if we were somewhere else, maybe I could see, but we're not. So, you know, the information is out there. And I would just say, a few resources for people that are really, just trying to get their mind stimulated. I would check out the book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I would check out some positive psychology material by Martin Seligman. I think I would look up some motivational videos. Entrepreneur Fitz, Et. I know Eric the hip or yeah, Et, the hip hop preacher, uh Les Brown, all the people that, one day we gonna be on top, so it's like all those people. But I would just say, like Ty was saying, be committed, learn what you really want, and do your own research, be obsessed with it. Don't do it because someone else wants you to do it. Do it because you really want to do it. And just keep pushing. And that's what we're going to do. No, this podcast is not perfect. It never will be perfect, but it's going to be the best of what we can do. And that's what we want to provide for you, is just doing the best that you can do. Don't make it perfect. Just do the best you could do. Um, and with that said, I'm gonna shut up because I've been doing a lot of talking. Do you have anything to say before we uh dip out and eat dinner and stuff like that?
Let me add to dedication, commitment. Also, be patient, man. Be
Mm.
patient in the seasons that you're waiting, and appreciate the wins and the losses. You're gonna take some losses. Hopefully, they not too big, but be appreciative of them, because that's what's gonna make you get to your goal. Whatever it may be, faster. If you do that rather than dwell on it and say, I took that L. I'm good. I ain't with that no more. You got to appreciate the losses. So when those wins come, it's gonna be so much sweeter.
And okay, this is really the last thing. Okay. When you said that, that reminded me of a quote, and I'm paraphrasing. I think it's like a Chinese proverb, but it goes something like, everybody has two lives. The first one begins, or the no, everybody has two lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one. And it hit me when I heard that, because it's like, when you truly realize you only have one life, not like on some superficial stuff, but when you truly realize it, it is like a new beginning, like okay, I got to move differently now. Like I got a broken foot and I can't be running everywhere now. I got to I got to walk. uh that's how that quote hit me. It's like, okay, I really do only got one life, and this is it. Like, I don't know if I'm coming back as a zebra. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't know. So I'm trying to like, there's just 10 things I wanted to just joke about, but I'm trying to keep it professional. Um, but yeah, just stay dedicated, be patient. If there's anything we could do for you, leave a comment. We're here to help. Uh, and just stay focused. We'll be back next week with another episode. We will have merch hitting probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. We're still designing, coming up with something that I think y'all are really gonna love. Let us know if you want the hats, the hoodies, the what are they called? The sweats, um,
Everything.
everything. You know, like we want y'all to support us. We want to be able to keep on doing this. Like we said, we're trying to be wealthy, so don't be cheap. Go get the stuff. Uh and one day, hopefully we'll be in a position to support you in whatever you do. And we're gonna do that to the best of our abilities at whatever level we're at. So thank you for watching, and click that like button, subscribe. That way, you can keep updated on everything we're doing. And thank you for watching.
Gang.
My little baby hands.